This is a very special event for us. We're working with foundation sponsor Swyftx. Swyftx have been with all things blockchain for 5 years, and we're really thrilled. This is the first year, though, that they've upped their sponsorship deal with us to put on an event like this, and I hope you've enjoyed the quality and caliber of what you've experienced so far and the presentation and the podcast style discussion we're about to hear with Tommy and Ted from Swyftx. So we're really thrilled to have you all here. My name is Matt Hooper. I'm the current chairperson and community manager of All Things Blockchain, and I'm responsible for putting on a lot of the stuff that goes into these events, but we do also have a team sitting behind me, which we'll talk about in a moment. So tonight we're going to work through a few things. Danielle and I have got a couple of announcements to make, and we're going to be aided by young Nick Devine, who's coming on to help manage a new community hub that we've started. We're really excited. We've been engaging in person and through Zoom calls really well, but we're now going to get to a level where we're going to be engaging outside the networking events. So we're really looking forward to hearing more about that from Nick in a moment. All things blockchain, I was saying to a few of you during networking tonight, we are chain agnostic, and we're proudly so. We like to connect people, we like to educate people, bring the good word of blockchain wherever it's appropriate, and connect people in industry and outside of the industry as well. So that's what we stand for, and I'm seeing there's a typo there. Everyone's was welcome. Everyone's was welcome. For those who are quickly skim reading that, we'll get that fixed for next time. Quick Stats, founded by Danielle and a few others back in 2020. I came on in about 2023. I was poached from AusDeFi, for those of you who know AusDeFi, and I'm very happy to be with ATB ever since. We've had over 10,000 attendees. I won't read all these stats. Probably the one that I like the most is the 12 plus in-person events. We do this every first Tuesday. We are here, and it's a consistency that I think once you get to know us, you'll realise that we do deliver quality month in, month out. And we certainly hope that you find that. Actually, I've been remiss. I need to ask, who's first or second time in the room? Who's first or second time in the room tonight? Wow, that's amazing. I thought there were a few new people. Wonderful to have you on board. Who have you found us on X? I know we've got 1, 2, 3, maybe 3. That's interesting stats. Where's our marketing guys from Swyftx? It's really interesting to see the conversion rates, how these campaigns and things work across the various channels. I won't ramble too much. We're reaching over 3,300 people now through our membership platforms, and we also have we have a dedicated newsletter which has about 1,700 subscribers as well. So there's some of the benefits going out to those mailing lists that we bring to our sponsors each year. All right, I won't go on about all things blockchain too much more. There's the team that I talked about that's behind the scenes. Thanks to Renee, of course, for her especially awesome spread. It's Canada Day, for those of you who didn't know. Both our founder and Renee, our head chef, are Canadian, and when they heard this date was 1st July, they thought, right, we are doing poutines, and what's those drink things called?
It's a Caesar, which is like a Bloody Mary, but we make it with tomato juice.
It's called a Caesar. I only knew a Caesar as a salad, but you never stop learning in life. Where's Renee? Renee, big shout for Renee, the head chef. All right, we are always on the lookout. As we grow, we do need some help behind the scenes, and these could be online, like administrative tasks. We've recently hired a graphic designer who's helping us to tizzy up our decks. Always looking for people to help on the night, to put away drinks or cups and that kind of thing. So you're very welcome to reach out to us. Swyftx tonight. Swyftx, it's all about. I've got a few quick stats. The team can tell you much more about Swyftx than I can, of course, but they are easily, if not the best known exchange in Australia in terms of just that brand rep alone. The AFL sponsorship. Yeah, I'm spitting facts up here. The AFL sponsorship. Hey, I've got like one teenage kid left. 2 of them are 20, so I've got to keep down with the lingo. You'll get a few dad jokes from me as I attempt to entertain you as well. Around 1.1 or 1.2 million, it's been updated. Retail, SMSF, and other customers now, and that's partly been contributed to by about 300,000, I think, coming across from the Easy Crypto acquisition, if I've got my numbers right. A very exciting announcement, I think in March this year, where Swyftx announced they were actually acquiring and working with Easy Crypto, which was easily the biggest brand in New Zealand, the biggest exchange in New Zealand. So that seems to be going very well from what I can tell from the outside. Also doing things by the book, and of course AUSTRAC registered. So we'll hear more about Swyftx tonight. Amongst Swyftx, amongst our other sponsors, apart from Swyftx, I should say, we have about 17 sponsors altogether. Not only exchanges, but we also have law firms, firms, we have cybersecurity firm in Hashlock, we have Web3 development in terms of Labris, and a range of sponsors there. Big round of applause for all our sponsors. Welcoming tonight, our account rep from MXC is not here, Jory, I don't think, is he? No, but Joe was here last time. MXC has recently come on board, just to note, as our latest sponsor. One of these outreach pieces that we do just went out this morning. We spent a lot of work in the lead up to that in the last few days. That went out on LinkedIn and on Paragraph to those 1,700 subscribers that I mentioned, and with the Community Hub, which you can sign up to there if you're interested. We announce or promote events right around the world, but also particularly on the eastern seaboard of Australia. One thing which we didn't put in this deck, but is the Crypto Winter event coming up in Christchurch as an industry level. it is in the deck, is it? Oh, okay, I'll come to that I'll come to that in a moment. I was in the newsletter, yeah, but it wasn't in my deck, yeah. But anyway, to note, Crypto Winter industry level event coming up in Christchurch. The title... Sorry? Queenstown. Oh, it's down that way. I don't know. It's cold. It's cold. Anyway, Google Crypto Winter. The name, Trevor, who's the current head of Blockchain NZ, said to me on a call that the name is a little bit maybe contrary, you know, talking about Crypto Winter, but the idea is to get you down there to go skiing. So you go down, enjoy the conference. About 150, I think, people are going to be there from, 150 different organisations at the industry level, and then you can all go skiing before, probably during and after. So I'm getting tangential here. Big shout out to Advanced Queensland, who give us this space as part of the innovation hub that they run here. Also, a quick shout out to our AV guy, Matt, sitting right over there. He's diligently working away. He's helping us get some excellent video coverage and also some lower thirds and some schmicko stuff. Let's talk about events before we get on to our other announcements. Several of us have been recently down at the Digital Economy Council of Australia conference on the Gold Coast. It really was a very, very high level, high quality event. I've managed to include a couple of happy snaps here. You can barely see in the top right, that was Gabby's panel. Gabby Lewis, put your hand up from Swyftx. That was awesome, of course. Gabby, with dear Billy, what's his name, Billy Humphries, was very vocal. There's always one talker on a panel, isn't there? There's always the one, as the moderator, you go, why, just your answers are great, but just, rein it in a bit. But Billy was that guy, had an awesome contribution to make, though, of course. Danielle and I had a little bit to do there, actually quite a bit. We were working behind the scenes. Rachel was on what I thought was the wrong side. She was on the let's not rein in the meme coins, not rein in the meme coins. Where's Rachel? She very ably debated, there she is, and they won that, because there were more degens in the room than there were non. That's why they won. And there's Jason talking to the team from Cloud Tech, of course, at the conference. Jumping around with our minds tend to turn forward to November for the next biggest Australian-based conference in our sort of world. That is November 22 and 23 at the ICC in Sydney. I've hit them up for a discount code, which will be coming next month. So ATB members will get a small discount there. AMA coming up. This is with Jory, part of their subscription, their sponsorship with us. We're going to be running this AMA in a couple of weeks' time, where he's going to dive into what MXC is about. You can find all of these on our meetup and also on Luma, and you'll also be starting to get informed through the Community Hub, which we're going to be hearing about in a minute. Then the next in-person event, which I will be putting live on Meetup very shortly, is with Hashlock. Our good industry friends at Hashlock are probably the best known brand in terms of Web3 cybersecurity and auditing. We're going to be having a three-way panel with their very lively new accountant. Who's met Tom, the new accountant? He's pretty awesome young guy who the founders are going to be talking with. That's all I have for now. I'll be back later, but I'm going to hand to Danielle and Nick to talk about some exciting announcements.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to hold this because I feel like, standing over here feels a little bit stiff. But
Is this working?
It was.
No.
working? Okay, there we go. All right, thank you very much, Matt. All right, we're doing a quick little announcement of the Evolve Her and the All Things Blockchain partnership, and I'm going to be bringing up Nick a little bit to explain a little bit about what we are launching. But first of all, for those of you that haven't had a chance to meet me, my name is Danielle Marie. Originally, I helped found All Things Blockchain back in November 2020, so we'll actually be turning 5, which is quite exciting. I've now moved on to launch my passion project, Evolve Her. So what is Evolve Her? We are on a mission to empower and support over 1 million women to enter in the digital economy. And we are not a women-only group, and that's why we wanted to partner with organizations such as like All Things Blockchain to bring mentorship, education, and community. These are our 3 pillars that we will be focusing on. Now, these are our impact partners. So yes, we are partnering with All Things Blockchain, but we've also partnered with all of these lovely organizations and more to come soon. We are looking for more partners, so if there's anybody in this room that thinks that they want to support this type of initiative, please come speak to myself, and I'd love to talk about how we can grow together. The big exciting news, a little bit of alpha, we have not announced it yet, but we are going to be launching a Web3 Basics Bootcamp. So just out of curiosity here, how many people are like relatively new to the crypto space? Say like under 12 months. All right, so this may be a really good opportunity for you to learn the basics. Renee will also be leading the crypto trading basics for any of you that want to get in there, dabble, maybe use the leverage button safely. She'll be. So we're partnering with All Things Blockchain, Evolver, and Jenna Crypto Queen, who is our new media and KOL partner that we have partnered with. So I'm not going to ramble on too much about Evolve Her. I just wanted to kind of share with the community that we are working on some exciting things behind the scenes. So please make sure that you keep your eyes and ears open for some updates. Now, I'd like to welcome up Nick. So before you come up, Nick, out of curiosity, how many diploma blockchain students do we have in the room? Either graduated or not graduated. I know that there's a few of you. Hands up. Okay, I think we've got about like 10 or 15. So for those of you, I didn't go on and babble on about myself. I used to be the head blockchain trainer for TAFE Queensland for the last 3 years, and it makes me really proud that I have over 10 students in the room. So, and they're all being active, and Nick is one of them, Rachel is one of them. And so I'd like to give Nick a big round of applause for stepping up and our new community lead for our new community hub that he's about to introduce. So let's give it up for Nick.
Thanks for that, Danielle. Thanks for that, Danielle. That's working. Yeah. It doesn't sound like it's working. No. Okay, great. So tonight we're really excited to announce the ATB Community Hub. So it's a little bit of alpha for everyone in the room. So it's an early release. So the premise behind it is we want to bring our in-person events that we've been hosting every month into the digital realms. So you can connect, engage, discuss news online anytime with all members of the All Things Blockchain community. We're really looking forward to getting your feedback, engagement on the platform, talking about exciting news, what's happening in the community, and obviously catching up on all the great recordings, podcasts that we have through our AMAs, and all that other exciting content. We'll also, going forward, be bringing in some learning content as well, and you have access to like those training courses that Danielle was talking about as well. So again, if you can scan that QR code and sign up, you'll just have to enter in a few details, and you can start engaging with the community tonight. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Switch over, we've got the lectern mic off. We're going to switch over to welcome Tommy Honan and Ted Coaldrake. Come on up to the stage. Tommy and Ted need a little introduction, so I'll let them introduce themselves as they run through a few slides. And we're going to do this quite in an interactive way. I'll get this mic to Ted in a sec. In an interactive way where questions are going to be welcome right throughout, I believe. So not just a Q&A at the end. So yeah, let's make this interactive and as fun as we can. All right, over to you guys.
You can click. Hello, everyone. What about those photos, Tommy?
Testing this one. We got it at the back?
Yep. Cool. Oh, good turnout.
Awesome. We're going to do this in a podcast style tonight, guys. We run a podcast we record a podcast every Tuesday in the Swyftx office. Ted's probably about to give me some shit because I haven't been on it for quite a while because I'm a busy man. But yes, we do run a podcast out of the Swyftx office every Tuesday, and we release episodes called Tapping Into Crypto every Thursday. Shameless plug there, I had to get that out of the way early, Ted. So, just to introduce myself, Tommy Honan, I'm the Director of Product at Swyftx. Been with the business pretty much since day one, about 6 years now. And yeah, I look after everything from the application to the website, and then run the product team and our strategy on that side. Ted?
Thank you, Tommy. Yeah, I'm Ted, and I'm the head of content at Swyftx. And so I guess this was originally meant to be Pav Hundal, who's our lead market analyst. So apologies for anyone who was expecting Pav. But yeah, through my role at Swyftx, been there 4 years, and sort of we've, we're always producing content for a range of different users, whether they're just starting out in crypto or whether they're, more experienced looking for in-depth research. We're trying to cater, that journey along the way. And so through there, I've learned a thing or two about, crypto and blockchain. It's, we've got a few accredited blockchain specialists in the crowd. So, we might not have the technical knowledge that you guys have, but we'll do our best to kind of share our insights on the sort of market and Swyftx and where we think we're heading in the next 5 years, which is, crypto, we don't even know what is happening the next day, but we're going to try and do our best to tell you what we're looking out for in the next 5 years.
Yeah, in such a dynamic market, it is hard. I think a lot of people, from experience, a lot of people come to crypto events, they want to find out what's the next big thing or where the market is going, and looking for predictions. We might touch on it tonight, but I think we'll steer away more in terms of trends, where it's going, as opposed to what the price of Solana is going to be. Greg over there will probably tell you better than me.
Yeah. And I have to call it out. Like, a few people have said I look like a bit of a finance bro today. I was going to wear my Dogecoin socks, but I couldn't find them. So it's finance bro for everyone today.
We did a terrible job of introducing that session. It's actually called The Road to 2030. So in case people didn't know, that's actually the name of the session tonight. So we might jump into it, Ted. I'll let you take this one, Matt. Straight into ETFs. Are people not sick of hearing about ETFs now?
Yeah,
I'll
give a bit of an intro to how we're going to structure this. So I think, you could decipher and cut this up any way that you want, because the next 5 years could throw anything at us. But I think we're going to try and break it down into what we see from an adoption point of view, what we see from a tech and use cases point of view, and then obviously we've got to provide some speculation at the end there. So we're going to tell you what we think the price is going to, but obviously take a pinch of salt with that.
What do people need to know about ETFs that they don't already know?
ETFs, okay, so I think the next 5 years, the most important, or one of the most important things to look out for is as you can see, the marriage between crypto and Wall Street. And
what is Bitcoin?
Yeah,
Bitcoin? Is that a new one?
Yeah, don't blame me for that one. But look, we've seen in the last couple of years, like you said, the ETFs have been, it's like beating a dead horse talking about them, but they played a major role in this market, and they've also provided a lot of maturity into the market as well, not just for Bitcoin, but we've also seen it with ETH and Ethereum. So I think one key thing to look out for is this chart here shows the volume of spot Bitcoin trading compared to the overall, the volume of ETF spot trading versus the overall Bitcoin spot trading market as a whole. So this is excluding, derivatives markets and, options markets as well. But as you can see, the growth is steadily heading up and to the right. We're sitting about 20 to 25%. And what does that tell us? It means institutions, the appetite is there and the adoption is increasing. And I think personally, what do we need to see that next leg up for Bitcoin and the crypto market? And it's widespread institutional adoption. And as you can see, we're heading in the right direction from that point of view. But then also there's the case of, are we going to see more ETFs from, altcoin ETFs?
Yeah, I think generally when I talk to people about ETFs these days, it's more about what's the next ETF going to be. And I think it seems like at the moment Solana and XRP seem to be the front runners with respect to the approvals with the SEC at the moment. So I think it's almost one of those things you look at. Do you front run that narrative? Is it a trend that you think people will follow? We've seen, I guess, apart from Ethereum, we've seen a lot of volume come for these assets. Ethereum got its volume, but I guess the price impact didn't quite come at the time people expected, whereas with Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETF launches, it came. when you think about ETFs, I guess, who do you think like is the target customer? Like people in the audience, is that something that they should be looking at? Where do you think that sits?
No, not really. But I think like the ETF adoption point is coming primarily from an institutional standpoint, right? But why is that important to people in the people in the crowd? Because that's, as I said before, that's what's driving the next wave of adoption is institutional. They're looking to get Bitcoin on their balance sheet or ETH or whatever crypto we mentioned on there, and then that's going to sort of set that wave up for the next stage of retail. But yeah, just to jump in there, like I know we said we're expecting XRP and Sol and whatnot, but don't take it from us. Like Bloomberg have said they expect 90%, or they're 90% confident that an XRP, Litecoin, and Solana ETF is going to be approved in the next 6 months. And so we're looking at the next 5 years, like what could be next? Do we expect a meme coin ETF? Like what does that mean for the market? Like does that add more maturity to some of those meme coins that you get the 100x, but they're also in the downtimes you're going to get that 80% drawdown?
It's hard to put maturity and meme coins into the same sentence, but this is the direction that we seem to be going at the moment. I think, for me, the biggest point from it was the validity or the validation that it gave the market and the asset class overall when we've seen ETFs launch. A lot of question marks. The jury has been out for many years about crypto in general. I think that was the first kind of step. Obviously, we've seen a 180 turn in the US with respect to regulations and the SEC and I guess Trump and how he's paid the crypto policies forward, and it's definitely, I think we're on a pretty solid trajectory with respect to the US, which we know drives a lot of the market there.
Yeah. So let's move past ETFs. What do we got? Okay.
SMSFs and crypto.
SMSFs.
Anyone here, if you're comfortable to put up your hand, if you have an SMSF in crypto and or have looked at the opportunity? Couple of people. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
5, 10. And what about people? Raise your hand if you want your super fund currently to include crypto. So it's about.
That's the big play.
Yeah, it's about 70% of the room. Okay, so we, as Swyftx, we do an annual crypto survey, and where we go out to market and ask a range of questions. And this is one of the findings that came up to us: is 27% of all Aussies. So think about it. Most people in this room are going to be crypto natives and naturally have a vested interest in crypto. But this is just out of all Aussies, and 27% would like their own super fund to include cryptocurrency. And that's excluding SMSFs, where obviously people are setting up their own investments for their retirement. And like I know anecdotally, as some of the guys in the crowd could tell you probably a bit better, is we've seen a massive amount of growth in the SMSF category from people who, he's looking at me now, he's telling me, yep, I'm on the right track. Like even in some down months where the market's heading down, and that naturally means trade volume is going to be down and new retail signups is going to be down, but the SMSF applications are up. So what does that tell you? It means they have a different sort of mindset to that typical crypto trader who might just be looking to make a profit for the next 6 to 12 months. They're looking at the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is that kind of ultimate asset. We obviously, a lot of people talk about Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. They talk about it that kind of correlated asset with gold at times, and I think the crypto traders in general, and I think every one of us at some point would fall into the bracket of wanting to do a short-term trade or trading something that's on trend. With respect to SMSFs and those entity type accounts, they do tend to take a longer term view, which is something that it's pleasing to see, I guess. But I guess I always go back to like the root cause of why do I actually need an SMSF to trade? I think realistically the big gap in the market at the moment is, the question you asked, Ted, is like the industry funds are miles away from supporting it, unfortunately. Still, that's kind of our view. Until we get regulated products, until we get crypto essentially on the approved asset lists for financial advisors, and essentially you can, it's an ASIC approved product. It's just not going to be on the wheelhouse of an industry fund. As disappointed as I am, and many people would be about that. So I guess that's a big why people are going to SMSFs. They don't want to wait another 5, 6, 7, 10 years to get crypto on as part of their industry fund. They're actually going in early questions come through. I won't answer this one, but like, what's the minimum balance I should have to do an SMSF? These are the kind of things that come through. I think when people think about the opportunity, especially, I'm going to reference Bitcoin again, especially with Bitcoin longer term, people are kind of okay to cop some fees early on in their portfolio. I know we have had people that have came in and bought Bitcoin in their SMSF when it was at 10K US, 15K US, like that type of growth to, what are we at today, 107 US? That type of growth you're very rarely going to see in any other product within your super fund, that doesn't mean it'll work like that for everybody, but there are some kind of good stories, I guess, in the market about that.
And just to finish that off, like, you got to think in 5 years time in 2030, 16-year-olds will be 21, so entering the workforce. And the data shows that Gen Zs typically have a bigger appetite towards crypto than say millennials and also generations above that. So naturally the demand is going to be increasing as those generations come through into the workforce, and so that will probably drive that demand for the super funds to include Bitcoin in some of their portfolios. I know like we're still a long way away, but SMSFs, it's showing no sign of slowing down.
Yeah, I think the disappointing part there is, Swyftx, we work pretty closely with government relations and treasury, spend a lot of time in Canberra, some of our leaders at the business. We have expected, and we've been kind of lobbying for the right type of regulations. I'm absolutely not going to turn this into a regulation conversation now. Rachel's giving me eyes. But it is something, I guess, that we have been pushing pretty heavily. We're seeing a lot of, Australia is suffering because of it at the moment. We're losing talent offshore. We are in the product space. I got a couple of my product team here tonight. We're trying to build products, but we're really, I guess it's not a level playing field when it comes to building a product against a competitor in the US or in Europe or some of these other markets. We're really hamstrung and we're actually getting forced down these areas to comply with regulations and essentially wrap red tape and licensing around specific products just to be able to offer them in the market. So it is quite frustrating at times. We do want to push extra hard into that regulatory environment as much as it kind of plays against the crypto libertarian type of philosophy, but it is kind of, the reality is the bridge between TradFi and crypto or DeFi is where we think it will sit on the Swyftx side, and that's kind of what we're trying to push forward on. Use cases. Let's talk about use cases over the next 5 years and where we're going to grow into that.
There we go.
You want to start us off with the tokenization, Ted?
Yeah, so I guess we've put this all on one slide, and to break it down why we've chosen these sort of three categories is the next 5 years. Everyone knows in this room like how quickly crypto moves and how quickly new innovations are popping up and new use cases and whatnot, and like it's so hard to be able to predict that sort of stuff. Like I know AI is a big sector. Gaming, a lot of people are expecting big things there, but I guess our focus for this one is the real world use cases and stuff that we're already seeing making a real world change and stuff that we see in the next 5 years, impacting real world, industries and people on a daily basis. So I guess that's our approach for this, but we'll start with the tokenization of real world assets. So for anyone in the room, I'm assuming most people know what that means, but to break it down, we're talking about bringing a lot of real-world assets onto the blockchain. And why do you do that? There's a number of reasons. There's a number of benefits like fractionalization. Like, can you split up a house into multiple different tokens, bringing...
Who lives in the house?
It's a good question. But
I think I asked you this live on the podcast we did a couple of months back, and nobody can actually answer it. I still can't answer it today. Like, who lives in the house?
No, I'll tell you what happens. It's let's say there's a primary trust made up of multiple owners of this house. Then they rent it out. The multiple owners of that house get the rental income as like a, it's passive income.
Like staking yield, almost.
It's like staking yield, but you don't
Can't do that in Australia either.
You don't have to put up 50 grand as a deposit and commit the next 30 years of your life to paying that house off. So it lowers the barrier to entry. But I guess that's a very tangible example. I guess an intangible example that we've seen already start playing out is tokenized treasury bonds, which probably bore half the room to sleep. But why that's important is because it's bringing the big institutions into play.
Yeah, I think one of the cool use cases I've seen with some of those products that are coming out is you can actually hold like a treasury bond digital version of it, like an RWA version of it. It might even represent $1, and you can actually just sit that in your wallet and it pays you out dividends. Similar to staking, I guess, if you guys know what staking is, like on-chain staking, where you kind of generate a yield similar to a, from an equity you get paid a dividend. Same type of concept, I guess. But I think the tokenization of stocks as well, or equities, is a big one that's coming to market. We have seen some players in the US roll out tokenized versions, a couple of different platforms. I think Robinhood, Kraken are starting to roll these out in the US. Essentially, why do we need that? What actually does it do for us? So I think the key unlock, from my perspective, at least from my research into it, is more around the accessibility to trading. It's not a 9-to-5 trading environment, 5 days a week. We deal with the ASX and you deal with the NASDAQ. So I think that's one of the big unlocks, where you can trade 24/7. You also have the speed of movement of these types of assets. So that's another kind of key unlock. The fact that you can hold Tesla stock in a wallet that you own on whatever chain you decide, or whatever chain it runs on. I think that's pretty powerful, being able to redeem that kind of one-to-one. It is an advancement. I think a lot of time with crypto, and full transparency and honesty, we try to kind of retrofit use cases into the blockchain, and it's just not the way to do it. But I think with these types of products, it is opening up for us.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we've seen BlackRock enter the the RWA space, as the term's been coined, and because BlackRock don't really enter anything unless it's going to be profitable for them. And Larry Fink has even said, we're launching our own stock exchange in Texas, so that'll be competing with the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ in the US. And he said his ultimate goal is to tokenize every financial asset there is. So as you said, they're going to be tokenizing equities, tokenizing bonds, which they're already doing a good job of with their BIDL fund as well. So yeah, I think there's some interesting opportunities there. And I guess people want to know about projects in this space, and the key ones I've been seeing are Ondo, who already have a bit of a partnership with BlackRock, and the other one is Maple, which is actually founded by a guy from Sydney who was out at NAB Bank. So interesting that you've got this traditional finance making the crossover to DeFi and seeing what they can do there, because obviously there's a lot of opportunities there, and RWA feels like the most organic transition from those two.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I keep trying to think what the phrase was for it again, but essentially sucking all of the good talent out of traditional finance into crypto is something that has been happening for quite some time, and it's you see even businesses like ours at the Swyftx side, where you do have ex-banking relations, people that have worked in private equity, this type of talent now is joining companies like us, where you go back 5 years, we would never have taken the risk or crossed the chasm, if you will, to move into this industry. But next one on our list, Matt, is crypto-backed lending. Show of hands, who knows what crypto-backed lending is, and/or have someone taken out a crypto-backed loan before?
Yeah.
Why are you too scared to
Put up two hands if you are yes to both those questions.
Okay. Not your keys, not your crypto issue, all right?
I think we got...
fair enough.
I think we have one person in the crowd who said yes to both those questions.
There's a couple of hands up at the back, so at least people have an idea about it. I guess at super high level, if I have the slide back there again, at a super high level, it's essentially, people talk about, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, or I don't want to get hit with a taxable event because I need to sell my Bitcoin. But the reality is, most people, they actually just want to unlock some liquidity. So crypto-backed lending is essentially the concept of using your crypto or Bitcoin as collateral to get cash out back to your bank. You might want to do a home renovation. You might want to get a loan to buy a new car. I actually did this myself about a year ago with some Bitcoin that I had to buy a new car. And the reason I did it is because the rates were really competitive at the time with respect to, or in comparison to, like a personal loan. If I wanted to get a personal loan, the custody arrangement, which is really important, was something I was comfortable with at the time. So the biggest thing is, to Danny's point, you don't want to lose your crypto by taking a loan against it. It is over collateralized. Big part of the reason why I'm talking about this tonight is we are building this product at Swyftx at the moment, so I'm super excited. A few guys in the audience that are that are working on it intensely at the moment. No, I won't share any timelines because Chris will absolutely kill me if I even mention a date or a month right now. But it is something we're building actively, and we're really excited about the opportunity for crypto-backed lending, bringing that in a trusted way. Our brand is something that we talk a lot about, the trust behind our brand. We do a lot of things like this. We partner with ATB. Guys do a great job. A big part of that is just being visible and being accessible and being in market. And I think it is a product that fits within our suite pretty nicely that we're excited to roll out.
Yeah, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people in this room. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, but then it's like, how do I free up cash to pay for certain things in life? And it's like this is sort of the perfect thing, and it also creates that financial equality because Bitcoin, your Bitcoin is the same as my Bitcoin. It kind of eliminates, like there'll still be like credit risk and credit scores and that sort of thing. But if you can bring that into market, it kind of raises it eliminates a lot of that risk because we understand, and everyone in this room understands that Bitcoin, is a very valuable asset. And this is why people are willing to borrow and lend against it because it stood the test of time.
Yeah, and this is not a new concept. This is actually very squarely a traditional finance concept. The issue with it is these types of products are generally held for high net worths and people that are kind of on the upper echelon, like Ted, up in the upper echelon of finance and society. But I guess crypto has always been that kind of squaring up type of product. Like we had retail opportunity first. It wasn't institutions first and then into retail. It's been the other way around, which, you guys, I'm sure people that listen to people speaking about crypto on podcasts and things, that's kind of the real, it's been a real equalizer in terms of opportunity in market. I think this is just another lever for us to pull. So, excited. Keep an eye on our kind of in the Swyftx socials and hopefully announcements with ATB and things. We will be rolling that product out, very shortly. So, keep an eye for that one. Excited to share it with you guys.
Absolutely. Let's move on to stablecoins because, I want to preface this. I know stablecoins on the surface aren't very exciting, but it's like, why are we highlighting them as a sort of, one of the things to watch in the next 5 years? And I think because, partly because the US has just released regulation. The Genius Act is what they're calling it, which basically dictates, how you can issue a stablecoin. So it's going to eliminate any stablecoins like we saw with Terra Luna and the shit show that was. So hopefully from now on, we only see stablecoins that hold assets one-to-one in their reserve. So like USDC is a good example. They just Circle, just
Tether?
their issuer.
What about Tether?
Tether? USDC is...
Don't mention the war.
But look, so it's basically they've got to hold, one-to-one assets in their reserve. And why is the US, promoting that? Because at the end of the day, it's not taking any demand away from the US dollar, because at the end of the day, they need the US dollar in the reserves to facilitate all these transactions on chain. So that's it's a big point. And I guess like you've seen all these all these companies starting launching stable coins. You've seen PayPal, you've seen Ripple. It's like, why is Ripple launching a stable coin when they've got XRP? It's because there's a huge opportunity there. And they see it worldwide. It's not just, most stable coins are US dollar backed stable coins, but you'll see, even in developing countries, like people want access to these US peg stable coins because they're easier to access than actual US dollars, and they're more stable than their own fiat currency, and they're more stable than typical cryptocurrencies and all the other things, easy to transact, cheap, and all those things. So I guess a big focus will be stablecoins, and I know you want to jump in, Tommy, but just one last thing, that it seems like at this point that stablecoins have found that product market fit where, aside from Bitcoin, I don't know if anything has yet. And what I mean there is the product that I'm talking about, in this case stablecoins, has met the demand of the market. And we're seeing all these new applications and products, whether it be from gaming, AI, DeepIn, you could pull out any category in crypto, but they haven't met the demand of the market yet. Like, yes, people will use them and say they're fantastic, likely they hold the token, but stablecoins seem to have filled a much needed gap in the market.
I think the with stable coins, for me, I've struggled with it for a long time, and I'm kind of starting to get converted now. There's no question we found product market fit for stable coins. You've seen, you mentioned PayPal, Stripe making massive record-breaking acquisitions in the stable coin space. It is, you think about the Swift system, and that's really what everyone, the whole value prop is, the Swift system is shit. It takes X amount of hours or days to get settlements. It costs a fortune. You're actually starting to see companies like TransferWise, or Wise I think they're called now, some of these overseas global remittance companies starting to use blockchain rails. I think that's the big one for me, where you're going to see massive volumes. I already mentioned Stripe. They're starting to use stable coins and blockchain where they can in their own products, the most widely adopted payment product in the world. I think as well, what you'll see is, you focus on the US stablecoins. I know we've got Rachel here from AUDD. So, we've had many conversations about what we can use an Australian dollar stablecoin, for an example. We have a lot of people have issues with banking in Australia, crypto exchanges, and not just crypto, but high risk verticals. People get debanked left, right, and center. I think there's a huge opportunity for the unlock we can see there. Globally, all types of different currencies, not just obviously US is the one that leads the market in that sense. But the last point for me, I guess, is it kind of plays into the centralized. Doesn't have to be centralized, but the centralized method of what you might use a crypto exchange for, or a crypto platform for, or even just your favorite app that allows payments. I think that's going to be a huge trend over the next 5 years. People don't love the banks from time to time. I think CBA's record profits is something that I always think about every single year when they come out, and it's one of those things that the brand loyalty that people are showing businesses like ours, which is like, it's overwhelming at times that how much they do love the products that we build. Not just us, there's so many great blockchain and crypto focused businesses in Australia that are doing awesome things. But I think they're going to start to use us more and more as we build out those use cases. Next thing you can come to Swyftx, you can get a loan to buy your house, your car. Next thing you can use a credit card or a payments card associated with it. So the use cases and the reasons to use a bank are actually declining, and I think that's why there's been so much pushback over the years on the crypto platforms. They've kind of, maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but they're starting to see what we can do, and we can move fast, and the products we can actually build. They're like this big oil tanker trying to turn, and we're kind of moving quickly in and around them. So I think that's a huge opportunity for me, not necessarily focusing on the stablecoin side, but more so the adoption of the ecosystem of payments, and stablecoins obviously sits really squarely within that as well.
Let's move on. We've talked about stablecoins a lot, so let's get into the exciting stuff. Speculation. Tommy.
What's the biggest number up there? I'll go with that one. Sailors, 21 mil.
Look, we couldn't find an exact, direct quote from Michael Saylor saying this is going to hit this price by 2030, but he has said 21 million by 2046. Only 16 years after 2030. But I think indirectly he's said that we're going to hit 8 or 9 million by 2030, which would be great. For all in this room, but we'll wait to see.
If he's half wrong, I think we'll be all pretty happy about that. Maybe more.
Yeah, look, I think we added this thing in because obviously it creates a great conversation and discussion. Everyone's got different opinions on this. Does anyone know exactly? No, including me and Tommy. We're probably further off than a lot of you guys. So I guess one thing to keep in mind is just because there's a pattern doesn't mean it's predictive. A lot of people say they know what price is going to go to based on certain technical analysis, and then a lot of people just throw out numbers for a headline. So keep that in mind. But I guess there's some notable people on the screen that have made predictions by 2030. So Kathy Wood, 21 shares, is that correct? Yeah, 2.4 million by 2030. A very conservative 2.4 million by 2030. And then Jack Dorsey, so he is the founder of Twitter and now the CEO of Block or Square. And he's saying over 1 million. So all pretty ambitious targets.
Every one of them highly incentivized for Bitcoin to go up as well, just to add the contrarian view.
There might be a slight vested interest in all three of those examples. So take that with a pinch of salt. But I guess, do you have any thoughts? I don't know. I've already disclaimed that we don't know the exact amount, but Tommy, give this crowd something to chew on.
Yeah, all right, very simple one. So the way what is the, heavily correlated to the Bitcoin halving cycle, so the four-year cycle. I don't think we've broken away from that. Some people like to say we have, don't care. It's still gonna play out in volatility over that 4-year cycle, 4 to 6, call it. The last low, I guess, on Bitcoin that the mark that I put in my book is like about the 15K US mark was probably where I call like this is the bottom. Not at the time, but in hindsight, of course, great to say that was the bottom. But looking at it, 15K. Yeah, 15 from the last cycle, like the last cycle. So
It's already happened.
yeah. You're too late for that, Denny. You can't get it now. But yes, so we went from call it 15K to 110K US, right? So let's call that a 8-ish X. I believe every cycle it declines, so we see more institutional money. It gets stickier. Maybe we don't see as much volatility over the period of time. So I guess cut that in half. I think we probably see like a 4x type of number for the next cycle as a like a top type of marker. So that puts us at, call it 500K for round numbers, 450 to 500K US in and around that like next 5-year term. That's kind of my guy maths that I'm going to use. Is that a thing? Guy maths? Yeah. Girl maths, guy maths. All right, fair enough. But yes, that's kind of where I think about it. It is still heavily correlated to that 4-year cycle. Everyone's expecting over the next 12 months that we see a sell-off, and it all goes, everything goes down, and we're all going to be in tears again for a while, and it will kind of recover, and nobody will buy until it goes back up to the top again, as I've seen three and a half times now. But yes, that's kind of how I think about it. I'm not getting too carried away, but I'd be pretty happy if we hit 400,000 or 500,000 US in the next few years.
Just to correct you, mate, it's boy maths.
What did I say?
Guy maths.
Guy maths, okay.
Yeah, anyway.
I stand corrected.
I wasn't game enough to make my own prediction on this because it could hurt me down the track. So I've went and asked Pav, who was initially meant to speak here.
Is that what you were doing on the phone? Having a beer earlier? Yeah, okay.
Yes, just very last minute. But he was telling me that using the Fibonacci levels, that looking at regression analysis and retracement and all the stuff that no one cares about, we're heading to 600 grand by 2030. So put in your calendars, and don't quote me.
Again, I think if either of us are half wrong, like you're either going to double your money in 5 years or you're going to treble your money in 5 years. If you look at Pav, so it's probably not so bad, I guess. And nobody knows this either. I guess the question is like, where's a bargain for me, or where's the value? Where do I represent value in the next, correction if we do get one? And I think that's probably another thing just to touch on very quickly is like, where does it go, from here? If we do see a bear market sell-off, I think there's a lot of if you look on the charts and I think if you mash everything together, it seems like the 50 to 60K range US is kind of where the bottom should be with respect to if we do see a pullback, or if we do see kind of doomsday scenario, bear market play out again. I think that'd be okay. I think that'd be fine. If that's as low as it went, I think a lot of people would be fine and ready to go again.
I want to put it out to everyone in the crowd. Does everyone think that Bitcoin will still be the largest cryptocurrency by 2030? If you don't, put your hand up.
Somebody up the back think Bitcoin's going to get thrown off?
You got nervous. So absolutely no one. Yeah, okay, you put your hand up. You think it's going to be overtaken by another crypto asset by 2030? Okay, it sounds like no one. Okay, next question is, do we think ETH will still be number 2 in terms of market cap by 2030? Put your hands up if you do think it is.
So you reckon 1 and 2 locked in for the next 5 years?
That's about 20.
No?
That's about 20% of the room.
What do you have instead of ETH?
Okay, shout out what.
Greg, calm down. Calm down. It's okay. It's okay.
For the people that didn't put their hands up, shout out what you think's going to overtake it. What?
He's probably got you there, to be fair.
Listen to our stablecoin chat.
Yeah, one of the stablecoins.
Well done. Okay, yeah, stablecoins are allowed. Anyone else want to shout one out? Solana? What was it?
Hedera.
Oh, H-bar.
I reckon if either of those assets got an ETF approved, there'd be serious volatility in them, especially Solana, especially where we've seen where that's come from. That'd be an interesting one to watch soon.
I'll tell you what, H-bar and XRP have the most passionate followers I've come across. Like, people stand by them no matter what happens. So, shout out to the Hedera fan in the crowd. Yeah, but I've come across a lot. There's a
Insight
they're
into
out there.
Ted's bags right there, maybe, just quietly.
Trust me, they're out there. Does anyone want to make a prediction for Bitcoin price by 2030? It's the road to 2030. Yeah. No.
Not happening. No, not happening. Too dangerous.
What will be worth more in 2030, one BTC or one CryptoPunk?
Yeah. Yeah, that was Greg Oakford. If you couldn't already tell. Yeah, look, simple answer for me, one Bitcoin. Actually, what is a CryptoPunk? 40 ETH. Yeah. It's 100K.
We're going on a tangent here, thanks to newly appointed head of partnerships at Swyftx, Greg Oakford. I wanted to get a mention of Greg in, so I've done it now. Is that the guys are going to go on a tangent and talk about NFTs briefly.
We'll try and be quick, because I know you want to run through this. Well, CryptoPunk is probably the biggest NFT collection right now, if I'm not mistaken, Greg. So you would have heard about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which was the monkey pictures last cycle. CryptoPunk was like the one that was before that and seemed to have maintained its value a little bit more, given they were sort of that first one off the block. But according to Greg in the crowd, they're worth about 40 ETH, which is about 100 grand US, give or take. So he's asking, do we think Bitcoin or one, CryptoPunk is going to be worth more at 2030? Look, I'm just going to stick to my guns and say Bitcoin. But you might say differently.
Yeah, Greg has to do that. He's the NFT guy, he's the resident NFT guy. If he doesn't, what's that? New ones. Yeah. I think we should definitely get Greg to do a focused NFT spot at one night. I'm absolutely the wrong person to ask about NFTs. I'm not on board.
Guyan wants to jump in. Guyan, we've got a question from the kitchen. Here we go.
Hi. So while we're going on tangents, I've got a question about volumes. Okay, prices 2030. Prices 2030, that's fine. But if crypto was to go mainstream, how behind are we in terms of having the volume to actually make it happen?
You meaning in terms of market cap?
In terms of being able to match the fiat transaction volumes, the number of transactions that's happening. If fiat just vanishes, right? And crypto becomes the thing in terms of being able to have that throughput. Where are we? How much do we?
I think I seen or heard a stat from the Decade conference on the Gold Coast we were at recently that said the stablecoin volumes are actually surpassing or amount of transactions. That was the key difference. The volumes were not, but the amount of transactions are actually surpassing what Visa and MasterCard are pushing out. So I think it depends is probably the answer. I don't think if that was Bitcoin, can Bitcoin scale to that at the moment? Question, especially with in a time frame that's expected from people with stable coins on some of the new layer ones or even some of the faster layer ones. I think that in some cases they've already been proven to be able to handle the volume. And I'd assume nobody stops building, right? So they continuously get better. Their TPSs improve. These things are under constant development. So I'd be pretty confident to say that it could scale with global demand.
Yeah, and I think on a couple of days, maybe late last year, Solana surpassed Visa in daily transactions. So just goes to show you, like, the volume is there. It's probably not as consistent as we'd like to see. But even, yeah, as to Tommy's point, like, the stablecoin issuers, i.e. Circle and Tether, like, there's no reason that they can't become the next Visa and MasterCard when it comes to processing transactions. Now, there's a whole lot of regulatory hurdles that we need to get over to get there, and we're not going to get into regulation. But yeah, I see that, you know, definitely growing at an exponential rate in the next 5 years.
Cool, thanks. All right, very, very quickly, I'm going to cover off this. I was going to do a product demo tonight, but I think it's going to be a bit too hard and messy, so I'm not going to do it. But I do want to tell you guys two drops of alpha in the product space from Swyftx tonight. What's that?
We love alpha.
Yeah, I know you guys like derivatives trading and leverage as well, right? So Renee's been talking to me about leverage. She's out there in the kitchen.
Hands up, who's into leverage? Who's into leverage? Oh, there are a few. Oh, they're Swyftx ring-ins.
When are you guys going to give us leverage?
Non-Swyftx people, who's into high-margin trading? Okay, yeah, the gentleman, regular attender there. Okay, I'm just trying to G up the crowd. Keep
Yeah,
going,
so I guess just a bit of background on why. Like we've always been a crypto spot exchange. We're moving into the regulated derivative space, regulated being the key word. So it is, we are moving into the CFD leverage space. That's our first foray. I'm supposed to read out this disclaimer: derivatives products on this platform are not for eligible wholesale clients. TLDR is, our first version is for wholesale clients only. So if you're not in that bracket, don't get too disappointed. The second version will be rolling out to retail. For the purposes of this session tonight, it is a wholesale-only product, and we're in the stages of onboarding wholesale users into that. Usual questions we get are, what's the maximum leverage I can do, to Matt's point. So we are rolling it out. It has been built with safety and risk assessment in mind, risk management in mind. We've built it via CFD, popular CFD provider. Like I said, it is licensed. A lot of the I would say horror stories we've heard from users, some of our own users, and the reason they're asking us for these products for years is they've gone and they've used overseas platforms. They might have used Swyftx as an off-ramp for stable coins, and they've got burnt overseas. That's a big problem. It's something I think we're going to keep seeing in the market. So I guess our answer to that is this product that we're about to roll out. You can see kind of some screenshots and designs in mobile. Like I said, I was going to do a demo tonight, but I won't now. But essentially, the product itself is 5x max for wholesale users initially. We can roll that up to 20x if we do, if we have demand for it. That is kind of what was in the, that's what's allowed within the CFD crypto trading product. For retail, it's going to be 2x max. That is it. You know, it's low leverage, but it is safe, right? Sorry, safe. I'm not allowed to say safe, but it is a safer product than, you know, going on to X platform overseas and leveraging up 150x. So we have kind of built that out with yeah, I said risk management in mind. There's if you see in that first screenshot, there's actually a landing page that is a product health or a position health page, which is focused on so people always know where they're at, where your positions are. You can easily manage them, close them, do what you need to do. So yeah, I just wanted to give everyone a bit of a taste on that one. I'm sure we'll do some marketing stuff with ATB when it does come out and it is officially live. But that's an exciting one that we're looking to roll out soon. If you do want to ask any questions, if you do have questions, if you're a wholesale user in the crowd as well, we do have a booking link there where you can check in with some of our VIP team. We have some of the guys in the crowd as well tonight. We're more than happy to have a conversation. They're very well versed in the product. Come to chat to me and Ted or anyone else in Swyftx colours as well if you have any questions about how this is going. But I think that's it on our side. Yeah, this is actually a better representation of what I was talking about with respect to the product health page. Any questions?
My battery's died again, sorry guys. So we've had some battery issues. Danielle, and then one more question from the audience. And Matthew Heath, we want to talk about merch as well. Sorry, there's questions online. Actually, are there any questions online? I'm wearing like 6 hats here, but that's okay. Nothing at the moment, but if you want to type into the chat, we might select one from the chat. Danielle is going to prompt us, however, with something in the meantime.
Yeah, Yeah, you talked about crypto-backed loans, and so why? And you asked me why I didn't want to play in this space. Now the reason is when I go to the bank and I ask the bank, "Can I get a loan?" They're like, "Yes, okay, you can get a loan. It's at 6%, 7%, whatever," and then I can do my calculations. When I do a crypto-backed loan, from my understanding, I am reliant on how the market performs. So if Bitcoin drops by 30%. I lose all my Bitcoin, and it's, you know, I would rather just know that, okay, I'm taking this loan and this is the amount that I have to pay. So I think that we're not going to get mass adoption until people just know that there's a certain percentage that they're going to have to pay for that loan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the product that we're building does have a fixed rate, so you do have a fixed percentage. And they are over collateralized. So basically what that means is if you've got 100K of Bitcoin, you'll get a 50K cash loan against it. So the protection mechanism is in there. So you're not actually, you know, you can have a 30, 40% down in the market and you're not going to get liquidated. The whole product is designed not to liquidate people. It's incentive for us. It's incentive for the, yeah, exactly. So there's, you know, exactly. I guess on the other side of that, so it doesn't work like a margin product. So you're trading too much leverage. That's your problem. Or Renee is trading too much leverage. So there isn't an instant repayment or liquidation as you would have in a trading product. There is a up to, I think, a 60-day period for you to actually pay down if you go in the wrong side of margin. So that is a key difference. You're not getting a short snap down in the market and getting liquidated. The product protects from that. So yeah, there's a 30-day initial notice period, and then that kind of depending on where your leverage or your margin levels are at, it does adjust. So that is not yeah, the risk with that particular case you're talking about isn't there for these loans. But yeah, it is an exciting space, and it's one that yeah, I'll respectfully disagree with you in respect to the demand for it, because we're definitely seeing a lot of demand already on our side. People that don't want to sell down but are looking for, you know, access to cash. Housing, I think housing and lending is the main one. Australia, we're obsessed with property, of course, so it's something that you know, a lot of Aussies are struggling with at the moment. We know there's young people have Bitcoin, but they don't have money, or they don't have, you know, they want to get property or deposit for a house, for example. So this is kind of the part of the unlock with a product like that. Yeah, excellent question. Look, the short answer to that is you do have to trust some centralized entity. We feel like our brand, and I guess the things that we're doing and what we're doing in the regulatory space are things that are going to give us that additional credibility. But there is a point up until that, you know, we do get regulated, that is going to be, you know, you're going to take your best estimates. I guess that's the realistic point that you need to follow. Yeah, we feel like we punch above our weight in that space, especially for an Australian player. And yeah, like I said, we have seen massive demand. The team has built out prototypes, which is like a prototype to gauge interest and get people expression of interest. We've seen, I think, about $50 or $60 million. Like, and this is just pre-live type of demand already coming in for the product, and many others reaching out, wanting to find out more about it. So yeah, we feel like the demand is definitely there, and it should grow.
Just a fact and a question. The fact is a lot of new people that haven't used Swyftx is when you do a deposit to your bank account, the money's there in like literally 5 seconds. So it's like even before you log out of the app. It does. I don't even work for them, exactly. But that's a fantastic feature. That's amazing. The real question was, just for the new people, how easy is the self-managed super fund process?
I'm actually going to call one of the lads to come up here and talk about this. Who's best for this? DMC? Danny, DMC, come up.
All right, we're ripping up the script here. We're getting spontaneous. We love this at ATB. We love doing things
Is that
like
okay,
this.
Matt?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I think this is a really engaging time of the night. So let's hand over. I would find that myself. Swyftx is incredibly good as a fiat on-ramp and off-ramp, and obviously you can do some fun stuff while you're there. I am a customer, full disclosure, but I'm not here to plug you guys as such. But I would agree with the gentleman's point. It's because you're using NPP behind the scenes, but it is hella fast. Like, it is really, really seamless to move money in and out, and that's enough of a plug from me. Over to SMSS guys.
So hey everyone, my name's Daniel. I work with Swyftx. I'm the customer success lead for Swyftx, specialising in self-managed super funds. To answer that question in short, it really depends on who you work with your accountant. So working with Swyftx, we have a wide range of network of accountants that we specifically work with that can really streamline that process. From start to finish, they hold your hand all the way through. So the rough time frame that we look at for setting up a self-managed super fund all the way to actually landing the funds and purchasing, say, Bitcoin, for example, would be about 4 to 6 weeks. That is relatively quick in the space. Most other accountants would take 2 to 3 months. So it's really, depending on who you work with, would be my answer. So 4 to 6 weeks on average, 2 to 3 months, depending if you work with your own accountant. So for those people who didn't hear that question, for those who already have an existing self-managed super fund, how easy is it to set up on Swyftx? So we have less than a 1-day turnaround from start to finish. Once we receive all your documents, it takes us less than 1 business day to get everything up and running. As long as you have your funds in your bank account, you could honestly be trading that same day. So we streamline that process all the way through from start to finish. We understand in crypto, time is money. So we want to make sure that you have the capability to onboard your funds as quickly as possible, pending with the bank.
All right, I'm going to allow one more question because we haven't heard from many women apart from Danielle tonight. We're going to hand it to Rachel from AUDD, who was mentioned before. What's going on at AUDD?
Well, I was wondering, can I repay my crypto loan in AUDD? My crypto-backed loan?
Chris, what do you think about that? Chris is building the product up at the back there. Maybe?
That looks like a head nod, yeah.
Look, I think with these things, you never rule them out. If it makes sense and it can cheapen the process up for either our business or the customer, that's something we always have on the radar. Like, you know, to the point about coins earlier, we talk a lot about US stable coins, but there's going to be so much growth, I think, in Australian stable coins, New Zealand stable coins. Swyftx, we actually acquired a New Zealand dollar stable coin as part of our acquisition with Easy Crypto, which is NZDD. Euro stable coins, like it is an area that is going to continue to grow, and then hopefully the use cases come with that. You know, I've said it to Rachel and the crew a long time. I'd love to hold Australian dollar, like AUDD, Australian dollar stable coin, and generate a yield on it, for example, right? Like, instead of putting it in the bank and earning whatever the banks decide to pay me on a particular month, like, how can you do that with you know, multiple stable coins? And I think that's something we'll see more and more of as time goes on as well.
I love that. But I wanted to get into that was a little bit of my tangent question, but what I wanted to get to in particular was relating to, I guess, the geopolitical impact, because you can see so many things happening in the globe at the moment. So 2030, I think things are going to get even more interesting and heated. How are stablecoins going to interact with that, and how will it affect nation states and sovereign power?
Good question. Look, I think we've seen in Russia in particular, like, you know, obviously the geopolitical crisis happening over there, like they restricted crypto transactions. Because people were trying to access, you know, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like stable coins, because the ruble was basically going to zero. So yeah, I think in those sort of situations, they can be very beneficial for people seeking, you know, a stable asset to hold their value. However, you know, it is restricted by those governments who can, you know, just lock down accounts if they want to. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. We try not to get too political in our discussions, but obviously with the state of, you know, things, how things are in the world right now, it's hard not to. But yeah, Tommy, do you have anything to add to that?
I was going to say that yeah, holding people from drinks now at the moment, which is absolutely terrible. Never do that normally. But I think things like the USD Circle, like they've got a feature within that asset that can actually roll back. When I actually didn't know about that for a long time. When I heard about it, I was like, this is not how it's supposed to work. This is not, blockchain is supposed to be immutable. It's not supposed to be rolling back transactions. When I think about, and the reason I mentioned that is, when you ask a question about geopolitical tensions and sanctions, some of these assets now do have the ability to actually just go stop, halt, put blocks on transactions. I think not what I would expect, not what I really like to talk about in the crypto space, but I guess I see the reason for it. We have AML and CTF policies we need to follow, and obviously we don't want to be funding terrorism or any of these things. I think having those features has its uses, but yeah, some parts of it don't really sit well with me, if I'm completely honest. And just the last point on the US, I guess the Genius bill that's been rolled out, like that is a huge step for adoption, a huge step for credibility with respect to stablecoins as well. And the fact that they've led with that first is a bit of a signal of intent for the, exactly where we're at in the market.
I'm going to give the last question to one of our ATV regulars, Martin, who always has. Is it about debanking? It's usually about debanking. No, I know Martin well. Here you go, Martin.
So this is about debanking. So it's actually perfectly the lead up here. So with the adoption of Circle and Tether and of interest by governments and BlackRock and whatever, what are the chances or what is the risk of it being programmed and turning into a CBDC or something like that?
Yeah, look, I don't think anyone is really a huge fan. Anyone who's in crypto is a massive fan of a CBDC. Like, it's a digital version of a fiat currency, which doesn't really eliminate a lot of the key issues that we have with our, with fiat currencies across the world. Obviously, it's easier to track from a government point of view. The validating where money goes is easier, so it might help where finance or criminal financing or terrorism financing, those sorts of things. But do things merge into a CBDC for Circle and Tether? Look, I really hope not. I think because these are private companies, they want to stay that way, and like that, we could see that risk, particularly if the US only regulates one stablecoin, that being their own American-issued stablecoin USDC, but obviously there's USDT, which is the bigger one, and sort of more globally accepted. So yeah, I think you're right, there could be a risk of that happening, particularly if there's only one that's regulated in the US, and therefore we just start using one, and then the government has more control and say over what you can do with that. So I haven't been asked that question before. It's an interesting topic. I don't have a huge amount to say on it, but I hope that somewhat answers your question. Any thoughts?
Well, I was just going to add, I guess, with Trump in power, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? Like a private company like Circle aligns with Trump, and the next thing you know, we're using USDC as the US currency. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. He does have his own stablecoin, Rachel. Yes, that's true. So yeah, maybe he wouldn't want to do that. I don't know what it's called, actually.
I think it might nearly be beer o'clock. But let's give it up a big round of applause for Swyftx. Thank you very much.